No, super crowd freak me. Obey petition, you know, go and some to me. I am a summer so yes, and I am a Miss One Yan Cratch. What you say? I was Santini Abre. Munchaso. Thank you. It's amazing. I can still remember some of the lyrics. And I'm sat right here in university.
A couple of disclosures before we begin.
Oh, yes, plenty.
First of all, I know this young man.
Yes.
We grew up together.
Yes.
East Cantonmen's boys.
Yes.
We went to Burma Camp and did taekwondo.
Taekwondo together.
Yes, we have gone through a lot.
We was four doors from each other. Yes. And we grew up in the most fly Dadabi way that you would never imagine. We had roller skates, skateboards. We went to the Marine House every Friday.
That Marine House, yes.
At the time.
Yeah.
That's our time, not Mushian Abede.
The other disclosure is that I don't speak Twi.
Okay.
In my house, we spoke Ga. I unfortunately lack the ability to articulate in the language that so many of you are familiar with. So I'm asking Reggie to have pity on me.
And no.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Damasipi. That was one hell of an intro, my brother. I was in the back thinking, that's all me? That's me?
You are one heck of a guy.
Thank you. And it's strange because this very good man, when I was young, I remember I used to always run past your house, right? Me and Henry Brew Graves, we used to run past his house. And he would invite me into his house to hear him play the piano. I don't know if they know how nice you are with the black and white keys.
You're very kind.
I would stand as a kid and watch him play classic, like proper, amongst the top notches. And that's Mr. George Francois. Give it up for him.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's just uncanny that we would meet again. Yes.
So Reggie just reminded me that we actually, the last time we met in Ghana was probably 1984, 85, somewhere there. 82.
Maybe, yes, but I had bumped into you. I had just got off the plane from New York, and I just got off the train at the train station, and you were the first person I bumped into.
This was in London.
This was in the UK. And you asked me, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I'm a rapper now, And he said, okay, because, he's a musician. So I'm telling him what I'm going to do, and he's telling me, yeah, go ahead, and then boom. I've never seen it till today as we sat here.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. There are no coincidences.
That is true. We just had an amazing reunion, and I just met your lovely, amazing wife.
Yes,
who I
baby.
Hope to mean, yes. So, yes.
Short woman trouble, eh? We need.
So this is actually an interview meant, or a conversation meant for your ears, not for our reconciliation. So allow me to begin. In your own words, who is Reginald Yao Asante Osei?
Osei. Okay. Well, it's a weird question coming from someone who really does know me, and you knew my father too. So I am the son of the legendary fashion designer Ricky Saint Osei, not Osei, Osei, yep. And born 11th of April, lived an amazing life, grew up, you saw the way I grew up the flyway. Freedom artistically was given to me from day one, no pressure. I was, my parents, they recognized my artistic side very early, and so my father and my mother, my father was already in the arts anyway, so they nurtured me, they encouraged me. I would go to an elite school at Chimota Secondary, which you call Motown. I don't know why they say Mo, because it's Achimota, not Achimota, but we will get to that. And so I was raised by three beautiful, strong women. I got three mothers. Don't ask me no questions. I got 3 mothers. My name Kao. And so I've always had a tricontinental connection, being that one of my mothers is African American, the other is Ashanti, and the other I will disclose later on, pretty surprise for you, who she is. Very eclectic father, like I said, freedom. And so I grew up listening to music, seeing fashion. I was exposed to a lot of people, beautiful human beings, especially women. And, you know, he was a fashion designer, very tall woman, always in my house. And I would gravitate to entertainment. I would start off with martial arts.
Yes.
Yes. People always get it confused. I was a martial artist before I became a dancer. Yes. Then I went to go make the music that I danced to. And so martial arts, I took that to the top. 2 times Ghana Junior Taekwondo champion. As I sit here, I can defend myself, and I can. Don't play with me. Yep. And then I would go on to become the youngest Shotokan brown belt. I run with some of the hard knocks, you know. I'm talking George Quagrin. I'm talking Duke Banson. You know, some of the Cape School gangsters, they know. And so I went from martial arts, and then I went to dancing because I came up on a healthy dosage of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is one of my mentors. And so from Bruce Lee, martial arts, I would find out that Bruce Lee was the cha-cha dance champion.
Did not know
Yes,
that.
yes. Bruce Lee was a dancer. So when I found that out, boom, I went right into this. And then, of course, my stage mother, Millie, she would back me up, and I became a dance champion. I won so many dance competitions I can't even count. In fact, I'm the only one who has ever beaten Ajit Soa. Put that on record. I'm the only one. He had a chance to beat me once, but then I went by his house and saw him rehearsing, and I pulled out, so he never got to. Watsi. Yes. So Reginald Osei is 360, definitely entertainment, definitely the arts, but I'm also very human. Mr. Me Papa, humanitarian, philanthropist, name it, nipa so doyao. And so I was raised this way. My father didn't celebrate birthdays, didn't celebrate Christmas. He didn't go to funerals. And till this day, I am the same. I mean, birthdays in the Indian here, but you know. So I hope that sums it up. From Achimota, Bruce Lee, breakdance, fashion, and here I am sat in university that I never made. I wish I had made university, but I never did.
That's fascinating.
Thank you. I hope I summed it all up.
Now, I remember your father as this gentle soul.
Yes, he was.
And I was fascinated. A couple of times I came to your house, and there were all these clothes and fabrics and people, and we were in awe. What's going on?
Yeah.
My mother really liked your father, and sometimes he would come over and they would chat.
Yes, I know. The whole street.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother always said your father is a very spiritual man.
Yes, he did give off that vibe, and he was. And even his presence, you know, he was always dressed in all white.
Yes.
You know, he just had this really enigmatic vibration, but he was really spiritual. So, yeah, you're right.
So where does the saint
come
from?
That's a really good question. I never found out where the saint come from. But I can tell you this, though. My Osei is spelled with a double S. And I'm the only one. But lately, I was telling my wife that I have seen other people with double S or Asose. So if you have a double S in your name, you are directly connected to my father, because he's the only one. There's no double S in Ghanaian Osei, it's one S. But now it's in the system, which is beautiful. So my double S now, my papa edin ne kutamono. Well, me deuce. But yes, the Osei, he put the S, the double S, because he said everything that was double was a good vibration. And yes, he said it would stick more and it was more fancy. And so that's how we got the double S. Yes.
How did you come by the name Rockstone?
Rockstone. My mother used to say, your name sound like a old school porn star. Now, don't ask what my mother knows about porn. That's a whole nother show. I can't take you nowhere, you people. So the name Rockstone comes from a very close brother. I don't know if you remember him. His name was Frederick Fowle. Frederick Fowle was the son of the legendary BBC Hilton Fowle. If anybody remembers Hilton Fowle, yes, BBC. That was his son. And his son, Freddie, would move from the UK to live with us. He lived with Andy Boy and them before, the Phillips. And then,
I remember him. Yeah.
Okay, so he moved in and he became family. So all throughout, when he was in GIS, I was in Achimota, we were the best of friends. We would reconnect again in the West. And so when we started this rap group, he named himself Freddie Funk Stone. That's in the music style funk, Freddie Funk Stone. But he got his name from the Flintstones, from the cartoon. Right. And so I really love that name. And so I just lifted it and added to mine and made it Reggie Rockstone. So I stole from Freddie Funkstone, and here we are. Freddie Funkstone, Reggie Rockstone.
Well, you heard it from the lips of the...
Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This question is a little bit out of the loop. Why Wache?
Why not? Well, Banku's kind of heavy, so yeah. But yes, Wache is, I grew up on this dish. This is, if you talk to old Motowners, Achimotans, Akoras, they will tell you about something called rolling. Rolling is Wache. That's the nickname for Wache. And we ate Wache religiously. Oh, you get some flashbacks, right? We ate Wache religiously. It was right there by the school hospital. And we would go in there with your corned beef, your tuna, your baked beans, chaka, chaka, chaka. Just gluttony, And then the doch. The doch was the plantain. And so I grew up on this dish.
Not just plantain, but the ripe plantain.
The ripe plantain. And so I grew up on this dish. Fast forward, we start to run a nightclub, Rockstone's Office. Very successful. We're doing swell. Now, on the menu at Rockstone's Office, the only Ghanaian dish on there was Wache. And the Wache was really good, and it caught on. And so people would come from clubs or club there and ask to eat Wache. And so, Eja COVID, and a buy. Wache, Eja COVID-19, and a buy. And when this came, it hit us so hard. My wife could testify. We didn't know what to do because all of a sudden our livelihood was being affected by Eja COVID, right? And, we prayed, I went on my fasting. I didn't watch it because nobody wanted to die. Nobody wanted to come out. But you got to eat.
Whatever
Right.
that meant.
Yeah, it means that you have to eat. Once you're alive, you got to eat. And so it was then that we began the deliveries. And so the deliveries caught on. And then through prayer, because we always talk to Jah, I said, let's pay attention to the food. Because food, you can't go wrong. People have to eat. And this is a dish that I like. So let's go. So now the branding, Rocks, Rockstone's Office, Rockstone, Rocks Wache. I made the medin and the tongue. I branded the food. And of course, the Z at the end of Rocks, instead of the S, it was a big tussle between me and my wife because she said, I got to be in the name, because I started all of this. So we put a Z in there, hence Rocks Wache. And it just caught on. And now you see what we're doing. I mean, it's been an amazing success story. What we did with Watch It is almost the same thing that we did with the music. Yes, indigenous, keep it Ghanaian, give it to the Ghanaians, make it be fly, and here we are. Rocks Watch It.
Well, I heard about this Wache only yesterday because I was researching you.
What about it?
And my sister said, do you remember Sylvia, my sister?
Of course, I remember Sylvia.
She said, do you know he does Wache? I was like, what?
Yeah.
He does Wache. And I said, where? She said, this Wache is the best Wache in Ghana.
Can I get a hand clap and an
So,
amen?
there you go.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's move to the music.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what year we met in London, but I do know that in 92 or around there,
Yes.
you were part of a group called PLZ.
PLZ, Parti à la Maison, yes.
Can you speak to that experience?
Parti à la Maison, beautiful story. So once upon a time, my hustle was running between the UK and New York. And what I would do was I would go to 125th Harlem and buy hip-hop gear and bring it back to the UK and sell it to hip-hop heads, i.e. the gun pouch here. Today I wear, this is my name now, I got my own brand. But yeah, the sneakers, the Flavor Flav watches, the gold chains, the fake ones, of course, not the real. And I would come back and sell it to the UK hip-hop heads. Business started to dwindle a little bit. So I would move now to the UK and get a regular job. So I'm working at a liquor store, what you call, liquor stores in America, what you call off license? Off license. I'm working in an off license. And regular Joe, you know, I'm just working the till. And then one day, they pay me. I said, they pay me, but they overpaid me. So let's say I was due, say, 200 pounds. They had mistakenly paid me like 1,000 pounds. Yes. Now, remember, I am a righteous man, but God knows this year was a big temptation now. Now, I'm not only African, I'm an African in the West. Not 1,000 pounds, I bet you, man, I count him. And I've been selling liquor for the white man. And I'm looking at this, and you know, yeah, George, I ran with it. Yeah, that was the end of that story. And so when I had all this money in this account, I needed to do something with this money. So of course, I did the Negro thing. Excuse my language. I went out, bought some fly clothes. I took girls out, went everywhere. I mean, back in the day, there wasn't popping champagne, so you know. And there was still more money left. So I would always frequent the top hip-hop clubs. I was known, because every time you saw me, I was dipped in the flyest hip-hop gear. Something I'm a tontalia. America, I wear my own clothes before I sell them. So I was always looking good. I had the troop sneakers, you know, and so there was a famous DJ, producer. Who knows Moni Love? You heard of Moni Love? Right. Moni Love's producer, DJ, his name is DJ Pogo. I would always bump into him at the clubs. And he would be like, yeah, what's happening, man? I'm like, yeah, man, I got some new clothes for you, but doing a whole Yankee thing, you know? And they used to love that, you know? So I just, out of nowhere, said to him, you know, you got to book some studio time, man. I got some verses, and I was lying. I didn't have no rap. I looked the part. And because I was that New York dude, he believed in me. So this is how it began. So I would take trips from East Dulwich to his spot. And then I went back and got my old school friend, Reggie Rockstone. I said, listen, man, I think we should start a rap group. He said, word? I said, yeah, I got DJ Pogo. He said, what? I said, yeah. Okay. So Reggie Rockstone, Reggie Rockstone, this is the beginning of a group called Parti à la Maison. we would go on to do amazing things. In the UK, we opened for big acts. We were on the front pages of magazines. That's a whole story, you know, worthy of a documentary. And that was the beginning of Partie à la Maison. Yes.
So I'm going off script. This is fascinating, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I got tons of these stories.
Where did the talent for stringing words together, creating phrases, bouncing syllables against a basic pulse to create syncopations and offbeats, etc.? And at that point, you were doing it in English.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
That came from one of my all-time mentors and idols. When I was growing up, before Sensei Bruce Lee came into my life, it was Cassius Clay, right, who we know as Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was the one. And when he would speak, it would freak me out. I fell in love with his whole style. I mean, as a child, I had a big poster of him on my wall. And so Cassius Clay, this is a deep interview. I never said this nowhere. So Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, is who put me on. And then, of course, Wafat James Brown. So when you combine James Brown, Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee, I mean, there's really no stopping me now, you know, at this point. Because, you know, I'm dancing the James, I'm rapping like Cassius, and I'm kicking ass like Bruce Lee, you know, and here I am. So it was a collage. But also, I must admit that at some point, I would also bump into Uncle J. Doublé Ambulé. So when you check the combination of me being born in the West and exposed to all what I just said, and then connecting with home, Uncle J. Doublé Ambulé. When I heard Uncle Ambulé, I knew there was something different. And that was rap, you know. I was like, oh, this is the one. So he comes in, and then the funky African will come from Uncle Fela. Yes. Okay. So you see where we're going with this. It's a whole box with the goodies in there. So all of these influenced me. Right. And yeah, that's what pretty much brought me here.
This is great. I ask because what I read on the internet about your music is different from what I hear.
Yes.
On the internet, it says Hiplife is a combination of high life and hip-hop.
Yeah.
Okay. What I hear is hip-hop beats and you rapping in tree. Over hip-hop.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing the high life.
No.
Whereas with Ambulé,
yes,
I hear him rapping over high life. And I think that's the distinction between what he did.
Yes.
Which is not Hiplife.
Well, you know, the foundation now. First of all, when you say hip-hop in itself is as African as. All of the syncopations, all the music, the beat, the cadence, all of that is from Africa. That's not from the Caucasus Mountains. Europeans don't sound like that. That's us. You know that's hip-hop. And when you watch the dance moves that we move to the music to, you know that's African too. So everything about hip-hop is from, we are eligible for a slice of that pie. It's our brothers and sisters who went on that big bad boat ride, and that's the only division. Otherwise, that's it, factual. So that right there speaks for itself. But in terms of the description of Hiplife, it had something to do with branding, which is something, you know, I'm going to speak to. So when we came home for Panafest, my original plan was to just come as Buggers, and then I would just go back to what I was doing in the West. And then I stayed till today. I'm still here. Yeah. And so it was my father, Ricky, because my father, he was the executive producer. He's the one that put the money behind everything that we did. Without Ricky, there would have never been no Hiplife. He's the one that supported.
Let's go back and give it some context. So
Yes.
something happened in '94 called Panafest.
Panafest, yes.
Can you?
Okay, so I am backstage in the West when I overhear a legendary American group talking about coming to Ghana. So immediately, in fact, he didn't say Ghana, he said Africa. He said, we're going to Africa. So I said, you know, where? And he says, Ghana. I'm like, whoa, hold up, that's where I'm from. So when I said I was from Ghana, he would continue to tell me about a movement called Panafest. So I told my father over the phone, I said, Daddy, do you know about Panafest? Oh, yes, of course. Panafest, oh, even that guy is my friend. Unknown to me, my father had come into some crazy money. Now I hit her off. I'm in the West doing my thing, never came to my father for nothing, and he's over here. When we came to Ghana, he picked us up in the Barracuda. He said, Papa, you know. And so Ricky is the one who said, Reggie, you got to own it. I see something really big. This is after I did the whole tree rap. He said, I see something really big in this. He said, don't call it hip hop. You need to own it. And so, Yate Veranda, so see, Menino, and DJ Rab, that's who's on my shirt right now. I'll get to him. DJ Rab is African American. That's who, you know, I'll get to his story. My father said, yo, take that life from high life, never hip, from hip hop, never boom. Voila, Hiplife. So in terms of branding, it was perfect because it wasn't foreign to, you know, Ghanaians, Ghanaians don't like too much change now. You know, graphic is always graphic, almost stayed almost for years. Every toothpaste is Pepsodent. You know, that's Ghana. We don't change too much. And so Hiplife, high life, it was so easy for Ghanaians to, you know, accept it because it sounded familiar. So in terms of branding, it came first. And then the idea would now become a reality where the younger kids started to actually sample high life. Achiame, you know, I wouldn't do that till Keep Your Eyes on the Road, where I sampled Alajike from Pong. It's a beautiful piece. And I grew up listening to this song in my household. So my father, he had the CD, he said Reggie and Zach Mallet, and we worked on it, and that's the one that bridged the gap. So yes, it started, the idea came with Brandon first, and then a movement came from behind it.
Right. Well, speaking of branding, one of your earliest songs, Choboy,
Yes.
actually has the name Hiplife in it.
Yes, that's the first time that I said the two words Hiplife.
And so I think we have the song standing by. DJ, Alfred, and co. Choboy.
Choboy. When some so I bite my car, one more shash him to do when some more when you adjustment make any yakos say. As some other person can say, when you make fake entity, no second I'm no nanti, echo to Brofwa, the Smith Fanti, from Yasanti, Shoko Loco Banco Shay, cry your own cry, wish could also mean Ajay. Now bring it back. Hey, me tipame, Manun Queen need to buy a man. I can't remember that part. What's me in my pet? What's me in your pet? Hold up, wait, train, me be booby. Hold up, wait, train, me be booby. It goes, I believe it, I believe it, I'm rich, don't tell it, you can be go every few while. I feel what your way. For the hip life, say, hey, Joe.
We gon' bring it back again.
Yep.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that was the one. Oh, Lord. Now, see, that video, watching this video today is hilarious because some of the folks in this video are grown folks today. Some of them bankers, lawyers, they're out there. And they're in this video. Now, the funny story is, you know Duke Ofori?
Yes.
Yes, Prince Ofori. That's Duke's house. We shot this video in Duke's house. His parents had traveled. And you know how many months after this video came out, one day the father was sat in the front room, this video came on, and he said, he recognized his house. And he could not believe it. All of these young folks in his garden sent for his wife. And this is like way after. And, you know, it's an amazing piece there. And that's Freddie Funkstone in there. The legendary Tagore is in there. There's so many. Daniel Dama's in there, Chakwan. That's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, that was a good time. And yes, this is the first song that I ever mentioned the two words Hiplife, which is really ironic because if I had never said the two words Hiplife in this song, 30 years after the fact, Ghanaians would argue with me about the origination of Hiplife. Can you believe that? It's sad. And this is what held me up. Because anytime they say, Reggie, you did not bring Hiplife, I say, show me the proof. Show me any video, music, piece, recording before this date that says Hiplife. So this saved my legacy. Yeah.
Part of the whole hip-hop experience is social commentary.
Yes.
I want to delve, but I don't know how much time we have. I'm curious to know which hip-hop artists you were most influenced with and by, and also you had like East Coast, West Coast, you had like, you know, NYA, Ice Cube, all of that, the gangster. And then you also have like the PDGs and the room, right. Bringing that music with its image to Ghana, what issues did you encounter and what influences did you bring with you and what did you choose to leave out?
Right. Well, I grew up at a time when hip-hop was very conscious. I grew up on Public Enemy, you know, X-Clan, you know, when rappers were saying something. Of course, we also would go into the NWAs, the gangster rap that came from West Coast. You know, hip-hop is like black CNN. They just inform you about what's happening. So, and it's very non-conformist. You could rap over jazz, blues, a hand clap, a cappella. You could talk about sex. You could talk about God, everything. Oral information, like you said. And so my influences as far as hip-hop were very wide. Not to mention my backdrop with the fellas and, you know, my father listened to all kinds of music, by the way, you know. And so when I came home, yes, there was that, hey, Nadibini. You know, I came in the same camouflage that I'm wearing today. I was wearing these. I had the short locks, my chest singlets, backpack. You know, I was on some New York, Brooklyn. But when I would rap, it was in Tree. So they would go from here to there. And so in the beginning, the older folks, they couldn't make, you know, is he coming to pollute our children? I remember this older dude, he pulled me up one day and said, and I was like, oh, hey, hold up, you know. And I went through that too. And remember, I said Ghanaians, that we don't like change too much. Remember when I came home, I came to meet Uncle Lumba. Like high life, na me did rap, na my shit, na, you know. So it was a bit of a, but this is where it got really interesting. Because I did not have to depend on none of these grown folks who were anti-young, and my father was directly my producer, I didn't have to check in with none of them. Because my papa did here. You understand me? Like, who are you? The man is endorsing me. And my father was so anti-establishment anyway. So the more they hated on me, the more he was putting money in, like, go and do that. You know, you know. And so he was behind me 100. And so I never had to answer to no one. I did as I wanted to do. I shot the quality videos with Abraham Ohinejan. Up until then, every video was stood by some flowers in front of a hotel. Yeah, you could go check. And so we came and changed all of this. And remember, at the same time, radio was just coming up. And all of these brothers and sisters in the diaspora were coming home. So it was really divine intervention. Everything happened at the same time. Until, those days, you would just see a whole bunch of young Ghanaians with British accents, New York accents, you know, and Hiplife was the new vibe. So we were all connected to this. So yeah, it was there was an eyebrow raiser from the older folks, but I didn't have to pander to that BS because my papa and everything.
Right. So with social commentary, by the way, regardless of father or not, I think it was very brave.
Yes.
To step out there and take all the flack.
It was.
Social commentary, there's a song, I've seen the title.
Right.
I'm curious.
Okay.
Speaks about visa.
Yes.
Perhaps you can elaborate.
Yes, it's a Hiplife classic. Yes. Uh-huh. I would try to remember. Reggie Rockstone, that is saying, hey, when you are winning power, I was a for mouthful, still I go so in here, bro, for no visa, maso, now no Michelle, down for go feed us. So, what's a connection? I'm a so local, a shame, Reggie Nime, many papa on him, a sacra, sorry, Samsung, Yami, who may share the mammy, not money, entire, we suppose United to menstruate last, now don't buy and I call me, whom me, my ecstasy, area one guys, got price of Yachi, or since that's why I was still all turned up, no nickel, not talk out, some more that's so and run. Yes, what the nebu nipono or nasi wako hamburger about twice for buy nice what business papa miniko did watch and push crack out and drop what you need don't mean to me okay, that's about how far I can go.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's and the dorsal. Sometimes they all get mixed up, but this is a classic in my realm. Reason is, you know, hip hop is about storytelling. And I was able to tell such a vivid story. You know, when you hear, Eminem has a song called Stan. And in the song, he's writing a letter, right? Well, this song was before Eminem. Because this song is a letter. Dear Rockstone, that's saying, still I go so any amro for no visa maso now no Michelle down for coffee dance what's a connection I'm so local as shame Reggie me nipa bone my sorry, you know, it was just a story, and when you listen to the lyrics you could actually see the visuals in your mind. Now back to the visa issue. Come on now, you know the average Ghanaian is trying to get out of here. So a lot of people can identify with this story because they got their visas bounced. So when this song came out with such a vivid storyline and people's realities, they immediately identified with the song. And this is what made this song so big. I mean, if you listen to this song, it's mid-tempo. It's not no dance, giddy giddy, yamadana. It was just like, at the form, and I make us. And when my father heard this song, it blew him away. Ricky was really impressed by this song. Now, this song took me bare 2 months. It was one of the hardest songs I ever wrote because I needed a story to be so detailed. Like, it was so descriptive. When you listen, I say, oh, you could do one punch and crack, or say, you know, every detail. And so this song is definitely worthy of a video today because the storyline in itself is the script for the video. So, yeah, it's something that I want to embark on.
Talk to us about the creative process of writing. I touched on it earlier, but I want to come back to it again. Yeah. Like I mentioned, when I hear your music, I hear hip-hop beats, boom, pum, 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 your fundamental.
Yeah.
And then you have your build up, your layers, and then you rap over it. Mm-hmm. And then you may have a chorus with some singing,
yes,
which is a very hip-hop thing to do.
Yep, call and response.
Right.
Very African.
Yes. Mm-hmm. By the way, at a different forum, we will dig deeper into the notion that hip-hop comes from Africa.
Okay.
A different forum.
I'm so ready for that one.
Yeah. So am I.
All right.
But the thing that distinguishes your music, that makes Hiplife yours, to me, is that you were the first person to rap tree over hip-hop as opposed to rapping vernacular over high life. Right. That, to me, is the foundation. Secondly, people would sing and then have a rap break, yeah, whereas you were rapping and you'd have a sing, right. And also you were contemporary because the music you were making, you were using digital technology to create as opposed to the live band thing. So that being said, when you come to figuring out your rhymes and where you stress your, where you emphasize, where you create these sort of sub beats and sub rhythms and so on, what is your process like?
My process is rather unique because it comes in two factions. Remember, English is my first language. I actually learned to speak Cree. And so when I would rhyme or tell or rap in English, that would be the basic cat, fat, hat, bats. I could figure that. That's easy. When you come to the language Cree, it's a whole different ball game. Because first of all, I needed to make sense. Not just rhyme, but make sense. And when I unlocked that key, that door, it was just magical for me. But it was no walk in the park. In fact, when you listen to Chobwe, there's something that you might have missed. The first verse, I actually repeated in the second verse. Because second, yes. I couldn't. I got brain block. So what I did, because the show had to go on, and I remember being in the studio. Now, mind you, my partner, DJ Rab, he's African American, doesn't speak Cree. So I figured I could slide by him and say the same thing again. And I remember him waking me up and say, yo, homie, didn't you just say that rhyme before? I said, yeah. He wasn't no dummy. But that's what I did because I had not mastered at that point. Writing in Cree, today, when I hear Sarkodie and them, it blows my mind. I mean, to do in Cree, in Hausa, listen, it blows my mind. And this is why I'm so proud of Hiplife and all that, because they took it to a whole nother level. But yes, the process in Cree, so example is, here I am, I've come home. I'm listening to very hardcore, proper hip-hop in the West. That will not work here in Ghana. Public Enemy music will not work here. We celebrate life to music. We like to dance. We like a groove. So I had to water it down. So stuff that I might have said in the West, no. So I made it very easy. First of all, call and response. I know if I say Chobwe, I know what you're going to say. Yeah. If I say I go, I know what you're going to say. Right. So we put that format in the system from jump, making it easy. Then the lyrics would come up. It depends. Sometimes I would rap about nothing, and then sometimes I would, put little thing, I mean, come on now, that's like, it's a hell of a line there, and so that's my process. But that's a very interesting question because I never really thought about it in that sense, yeah.
I was laughing because I was remembering you as a boy.
Yes.
And you always had the gift of the gab.
Yes, I did. I was a lippy young man. Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I only hung out with older brothers. I hung out with the OGs. I would go to his house to, watch him play the piano and then go on to Mako and go on to...
Oh, you hung with Mako?
Yeah, I hung out with all of them.
You're wild.
Yeah. So I grew up around the best.
Max.
Yes, Max. Yeah. Yes, Max. And these were the tough dudes in the neighborhood. But because of who my father was so hip that even the hood older cats identified with Ricky. Ricky was the fly guy, cool dude. You could come by the house. You were always welcome. So they all kind of gravitated towards the household. Yeah.
You mentioned Fela Kuti,
yes.
who is one of my heroes.
Yes.
Along with Cassius Clay,
of course,
Muhammad Ali,
Muhammad,
of course,
yes.
yeah. One of the things that Fela Kuti did, which I see in your music clearly, is use of pidgin, social commentary, African pride. In that sense, I want to connect him to the socially conscious rappers in hip hop. And I'm wondering if you ever considered, if it was wise, perhaps it wasn't wise, to rap about the establishment in Ghana.
Yes, but I have though. I have spoken in many songs subliminally, because I understand politics, and I also understand my people, and so I move with stealth. But yes, I have always spoken on political stuff. Even the whole visa issue was one in that. But yeah, this is you really pulled my coat because one of my mentors, Duruba Ben Wahad, he's an ex-Black Panther. He always tells me, Reggie, man, all this fame and you're not saying nothing. Why you not speaking on the government? Why you not cussing them out? Why you not being the new fella? And he does have a point, because really, if you think about all who I am, especially with my father, I should really be that revolutionary on the forefront of all. But it's not late, because I'm winking at you now, and I got the camouflage on, right? Soja be soja. But yes, I know what you mean. Ricky was a Pan-African. By the way, a little information. My father is the first Ghanaian to go on hunger strike. You never heard nobody say, I'm not gonna eat. That was my father. My father went on hunger strike. It's the reason why you had the trade fair cleaned up. And you could ask some of the older folks, and they would testify. So I come from revolutionary roots, yes. But yes, I need to be more vocal, but with stealth, yes.
I definitely endorse the stealth in this country.
Yes. Bakusru.
I'm not sure where we're going with time, but I do want to mention that you have collaborated with the best of the best.
Yes.
I know that we both know Panji.
Panji, I know. Yep.
Yeah. Then the rest of the people you've collaborated with are after my time, so I don't really know them.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them.
But there's apparently a very good singer called KK Fosu.
Yes.
And you did a collaboration with him.
A beautiful piece.
I heard the beginning. I haven't heard the whole thing. I heard the beginning and the bass.
Right.
It's this.
Yeah, a classic. Oh, by the way, that's my own car. Yes. That's the late Susie Williams. I know, right?
Reggie, for me body, tell me why. Baby, see be a Reggie why. Me name near me far why. As I walk through, one shot, that may be wine. Ah, me and me uncle Pan, my body. At the end, granny, as a man, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Memories.
that is a beautiful,
Memories.
beautiful
Memories.
piece of music.
Yes, yes,
The
indeed.
saxophone and the opening and that bass and
Well-
the harmonies and
Yeah, it all came together. And I have news for you. It was produced by a young Mansa. Ansa.
Mansa.
Yep. That's Mansa produced that. Very, very, very talented young man.
Okay.
And the story behind this, well, first of all, the story is inspired by real events. Okay, of course, you had to be calm. But it's inspired by a real story, my story. But Mansa, as young as he was, he knew where Hiplife ought to go. Because we had done all the chuku-chaka, and all that, you know. And he's like, yo, Reg, you got to tone it down. Let's give him a sexy groove and give him a story, something they can hang on to. You know, in fact, make it like Visa, but a danceable Visa.
And I can hear this. In this, I can hear a highlight influence.
Yes, definitely.
In this one.
This is one of them. And so, you know, he's the one. I had never met the young brother, KK Fusu. I did not know this brother. He was just coming up. Lived in Dansoman. Mansa lives in Dansoman. I laid the vocals, and I left the studio. And then Mansa, got KK Fusu in. So I was not in the studio when KK laid these vocals. I would come back to hear. And when I remember when he played it back to me, the room just went quiet. And he's like, yeah, we got a hit. This is the hit. And true enough, you know, and then of course the video, if you see the running titles, it says an original story by Reggie Rockstone. It was Abraham Ohinejan. Remember, he had also just come out of film school in the UK, so this was perfect for him. And I had never written a script for a video, So I wrote them in pieces. So when you see KK Fosu, you know, he loses one sock. Yeah, right. Because he was in the house, but in his hurry to get out the house, he wore his shoe, his sock, and left one. And that's what you see in there.
So what's the story of the video?
The storyline is about a woman that I was with who was going with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. And in this script, that's KK. But the original storyline, it was supposed to be a condom that was left behind. But now the nickname for the condom, Sebe, is Kote Socks in Ghana.
Yes.
So I'm the one that said, nah, that's too hardcore. Let's use a real sock to represent the Kote Socks. And this is how that came by. And the storyline was so captivating that you did not have to speak my language to identify with the video. And this is the video that won the Cora Award that you spoke about. Yes. When they watched it, they were just like, you know, okay, he's cheating, he got caught, you know, and everybody ran with it. And that's how we won the Cora Award.
I have a funny story that my head of department told this earlier on this afternoon. She had a friend who came and was from, I think, a Ghanaian, but not here, abroad. And came down, didn't speak, like me, didn't speak Tree. And, you know, wondered why the name and was somewhat, perhaps not entirely enamored with the notion that a song would be called until, apparently, so the story goes, she watched the video, and at a certain point, she said, So,
Okay.
so I'm going to watch that video again and see.
It's definitely an our moment. And when we tried, you know, we came up with all kinds of names for this one. And we got tired, and I just said, you know, this is something that will bring an exclamation from a typical Ghanaian, like, you know. And it went from, it was, it went from that to and then we ran with And till this day, a lot of people don't even call the song They just say Reggie. Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, my name has been used in so many various ways. You won't believe it. You know, sometimes people see me, and instead of saying Reggie, they sing my name. So Reggie, you know. Yeah.
That's actually a very Motown thing.
I know.
Yes.
It's very, very Motown. Yep. So, yeah, that's how that came about.
Although I haven't been keeping an eye on the time, I sense that we must be getting to the end. I can't let you go, though, without touching on one last sort of quasi-intellectual thing, and that is linked to branding. Because, and it has to do with your legacy, or the legacy of hip-hop. Actually, there are two things. I hope the audience will indulge us. And then we'll have some questions from the audience. So it's really indulging me. The first is this. If you are in America right now and you play anything contemporary by an African, they call it Afrobeats. It doesn't matter what it is. It's contemporary, it's African, it's in the popular genre, it's called Afrobeats. And this is from the consumer and from the marketers. And so this somehow sucks your brand under the Afrobeats brand. Afrobeats is not hip-hop. No. You might say hip-hop perhaps led to Afrobeats.
It definitely has a place.
Yes.
That's an awesome influence.
Yes. So in the sense of your legacy, how do we preserve it? I know, it's a difficult question. How do we preserve it? What is needed? Is it still relevant? Obviously, we think it is, but is it still relevant? with the younger generation who is still doing hip life. And my own personal favorite, the woman. So obviously in hip hop we had Queen Latifah and all of those people coming through. So you had people like Eno something. Yes. And I liked her because she came up with a song called Heavy Load, which speaks to body issues for women. And I think to myself, this is actually Reggie's legacy.
True,
One of the things, this
know,
would not
right?
have happened.
Yep.
How do we make sure that Hiplife is preserved as its own individual entity?
This is a tough one here. Let me begin by, I'm supposed to meet a really prolific artist here tonight, and it's my first time. Is Film in here? Oh, there he is. Can you please step up? This young man, make some noise for Film. This young man, okay, let me get. You might have seen a video that went viral where there's a young brother rapping with a Pan-African orchestra. Did anybody see that? Okay, that was him. He had the whole Pan-African orchestra. Now, he is on the forefront about the preservation of hip life. And so, can you give a few lines about hip life, what you did that went viral? And just listen to this.
Okay, so the song is called Boy Siakon, and it's actually a tribute eulogizing all the legends that actually made it possible. So, Ajubro nana minkrane bone, or therefore nya botrene tie masem. Ye frame Boy Siakon, media sempane nam so ya chema to hwabom yem. Media de pane bakoto konsoma boma bro debi odi phobia ne animonyam woni krom te mo semenya mesumeko nemum monkai debi she I was the voice of the youth, man. My birth was the beginning of the movement. Te mo semenya shedia then you goof, man. Used to be the real dude, Joe, me were proof, man. Yo me ba ye ejuma me de ba ye bisa achia me your bra for ne praye ebinom na me so tutu akwan kwama no ne ba ye na so nipa da seni ninka ye. So this is hip life just hip life being a golden genre, but all of a sudden we don't talk about hip life anymore, and that is hip life expressing its grievances. And big shouts to Grandpapa Reggie Rockstone for paving the way for some of us to be doing this.
And amazingly, today is the first day I'm meeting the brother. Bless you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So he's on the forefront on the preservation story, and so far he has moved the nation. I mean, there's a lot of talk about him right now, about the movement, hip life coming back to the forefront. Nevertheless, young people do young things.
Can we just get the name again and
Yes.
your social media? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, your name, social media, etc.
The name is FemFem, F-I-M. On social media is FemFem_GH.
Thank you. Check him out. Check him out.
Amazing. And so, you know, young people do young things. And Afrobeat is the in thing, it's trending. I mean, if hip life was Afrobeat, this is what would have happened. You know, of course, our cousins, you know, they way taller than us, bigger than us, got more money than us. Population-wise, they kicking ass. So here we are, little Ghana, trying to fight to get our little position. Nevertheless, we are a formidable force because you would have never had this new reemergence of Afrobeat without the hip life story. Time you see when I hear Ngoso, they literally looked at us. You know, they literally looked at us. And so I think somewhere along the line, Ghana dropped the ball. We did. We had the first shot with hip life. Well, no, we had the first shot with high life. You know, we dropped that. And then here I come, Bugger High Life did his thing. And then I come in, we dropped that. Azonto came in, we dropped that. And now here we are chasing the ambulance with the Nigerians, trying to get a seat at the table. It's cringeworthy, but I understand.
So what if we could somehow find a few creative people, a few scholars, a few innovators? What if we could find a funder or an institution that would get behind us? What if we could somehow start a Hiplife festival, annual Hiplife festival, complete with performances and scholars?
Yes. It sounds beautiful. I have so many bright, beautiful ideas like you have, and they come out my mouth, and they are beautiful. And then I can't do it all, brother. I need every single one of you. It's just a level of patriotism that you have to exhibit. I didn't come to do it all. I did my part. But if you don't stand up and be about yours, I can't do it. I did the hardest. I mean, pushed it to the forefront. When Nigerians they wasn't even doing collaborations with international artists. We was here sparring with Wyclef and Beanie Man. You understand me? So, but remember, these are cousins. I'm not against them. Of course, we do have friendly competition. However, we should draw inspiration because they drew inspiration from us. But instead, we are back here bickering about nothing, about who took what, blah, 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 and the game is moving. We're not at the table right now, George. We're not sat at the table. We have a few candidates. One Black Sharif, one Sark, one Stone, one Shatta. It's a handful, but so many, you know. So I don't have the answers, but yes, it sounds beautiful. By the way, Hiplife is 30 now. Give it a hand.
Yeah.
Hiplife, yeah.
Give it up for Hiplife.
30. Yeah. So it's relatively still young, and we have so much room for improvement.
Give it up for Hiplife, 30 years old. Give it up, give it up.
Yep. You're right. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is where I close what it is that I wanted to, you know, it baffles me, George. I don't have the answers. I used to think I knew the way, but I can't drive the car, you know? And so collectively, we all have to chip in. Otherwise, it's not gonna move. And we're gonna be stuck here watching old videos here at the university and clapping for ourselves. That's what we're gonna be. That's it. And so people like Fim Fim, he's really on the forefront because since he popped up, there has been a whole new, everybody's like, you know, you see on Twitter, yeah, Hiplife 30, you know, but he can't do it by himself. So I am with you, brother, and then I hope everybody else comes with us. It's easy. It's really easy. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take that thought, and I'm going to take the name Fim Fim.
Yes.
And I'm going to put it in my back pocket.
Yep.
And we'll pray to God or Jah or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
And let's see what happens.
Okay.
Now, it may surprise you to know that even though Hiplife is an incredible legacy, a legacy that beggars what most people would do, I do not consider that your greatest legacy.
Well,
allow me to...
You would probably know anyway. You would know.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I suspect that you are going to dance.
No.
Oh, okay.
Although I have so many stories of Reggie when he would run away from Motown and go and win the dance competitions, come back and display for us, we'd all be there and all. Those stories, yes.
Yeah.
No, we are now older, we can think, we can reason.
Most.
And most true.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to make the case that hip hop is not your greatest legacy
Hiplife.
to Hiplife. Pardon me. Hiplife. Because something happened that reminded me of the Reggie I knew when you were a boy. Apparently, Charterhouse brought Jay-Z and Beyonce to Ghana to perform. These are two of the biggest names in not simply black music,
in the world.
but yes. And Jay-Z, for those of us who may not know, is a big hip-hop person, and Beyonce is the queen of pop. So they were in Ghana, and everybody was, wow. And Reggie was asked to open for Jay-Z. And Reggie said no, much to the chagrin of not just Jay-Z, but your fans everywhere. And the reason you gave resonated with the Reggie I knew, told me that you had not changed.
Facts.
Can you please talk about that reason?
Facts. You have better my Jay-Z. And then you Beyonce. There's no one bigger than those two. Well, except Shatawale. These jokes. Anyway, what happened was, I'll make it really short, is that when we got word that Jay-Z was coming to Ghana, I'm a fan too, remember. We all blew up. I was very excited, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, will I get to meet him? Because, you know, I know my people. When my people get starstruck, they push you. They treat you like a side dish they didn't order. Yeah, Ghanaians are known for that. As soon as they see somebody bigger than you, now crowd no one. And so I started to be defensive from that point. Now, there's something in Ebonics where we call shucking and jiving. I'm not a shucking and jiving Negro. No, I'm not. I'm an upstand dude. If I respect you, I respect you. And that's that. So Jay-Z, David ni Goliath, what? So this is at this point when they asked me to be an opening act. Now, Brother George, there's a part of the story that, you know, they left out, or I left out. Initially, when they said to be an opening act, it kind of skipped over me. I was like, oh, I'm on the show. It took a minute for me to say, wait, hold up. I got to open for Jay-Z? And I'm like, wait, this is not my ego talking. I have no ego, by the way. I said, this is not my ego. This is politics. This is chess. This is, you got to move strategically, and a little bit of humility, and what we call hip-hop protocol. If Jay-Z goes to the West Coast, he needs to check in with Snoop Dogg. It's just something that we do. He comes to Africa. This is where his forefathers' fathers come from. And me, little old me, who he knows nothing about because my people have not told him. You see, my people are supposed to introduce me to this man and tell him who I am.
You're the African Herc.
There you go, cool Herc, right. So this, at this point, gets really murky, and I'm thinking, nah, I'm not doing no such thing. But the media throws it out, and at this point, social media was just coming up. I don't think in my lifetime I have ever been cussed that bad. Ghana cussed me from morning till night. And they began with the proverbial Ghanaian expression, who do you think you are? And I'm like, I know who I am.
Thank you.
Who are you? You know, I know who I am. Who are you? Now, let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's just say business-wise, to open for Jay-Z outside in the world would be a plus. It's good for your career. It goes on your resume. You open for Jay-Z. But here I was, stuck in between the story. I am the originator of this movement. Jay-Z and them did not come to Ghana based on Daddy Lumba and Iron Boy. It was based on Hiplife. For them to be able to even come here. So now, if you don't translate Reggie Rockstone through Jay-Z to my own people, what am I saying? And knowing my people, they will treat me like a side dish that they did not order. I had to pull out. Also, can you imagine how small I would have been? Because Ghanaians were just waiting to see Jay-Z. Reggie and Intimidate Free or Jay-Z. That's what would have happened to me. I know my people. So right there and there, I had to make that decision. Because one, I had to do it for the movement. For the movement to be asked, for me to still be the king, the leader, I needed to be presented right. If the king is looking weak, the movement looks weak. So for this reason, not Jay-Z, I was at me, Ashesi, but I had to. By the way, all the people who opened for Jay-Z, they got treated like a side dish that they didn't want. And I watched it. It was terrible. I can't remember. There was somebody on stage, and the bouncers were trying to get him off stage. I said, Jesus, y'all pa come in here. I mean, that could have been me. And that would have been the end of me. And you know, Ghanaians, they'll clown you after that. Now, I don't get JC, but I go be anymore. Yeah. And so for that reason. Now, see, if I was in Nigeria, knowing how Nigerians move, I would have balls to go up there and do it. Because Nigerians, they carry last. They will support their man. And that's the difference. So it's a sad shame, but it's a realistic one.
Well, I think that your choice is what Ricky would have done.
Yeah, thank you.
Give it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, he would have.
Yeah.
He definitely would have.
And I think that Pan-Africanism, that sense of pride.
Oh, without a doubt.
Refusing to bend the knee.
Yeah.
At the, for westernization.
Yeah.
That, I think, is actually...
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's ironic because the story only just popped up again in recent times. And I went back on the net to dig up stories that were written about me, and I found some of the bloggers who wrote them stories, and I sent it to their DMs, and they were so ashamed. Some of them was like, one guy said, "Oh, come on, Reg, I was so young, man, forgive me." I said, I understand, but, it was a time. And Ghanaians, they didn't understand, but I had to sacrifice for us to stand strong.
Well, Fela Kuti always said, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense."
Thank you.
And stop that colonial mentality.
There
and
we were.
One of the ways, we're coming to the end of my part now. The song that maybe was written, I don't know when it was written, but it kind of reflects this idea of having, as we used to say, your eye open. Mm-hmm. You have a song about being on the road.
Keep your eyes on the road.
Keep your eyes on the road. Can we hear that, please?
That's right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow. Chen chen bia di me wu. Ooh, Ajay. This is Hiplife. Regardless that it's in English, the music spoke for Ghana, spoke for Africa, and for export reasons, maybe, we flipped it in English, just so we could reach them and let them know that we could speak theirs and they can't speak ours. Yeah, it's definitely one that bridged the gap between the young and the old. At this point, the question you asked about the reception of older Ghanaians and how this is what did the trick. Because when they heard this, they knew the sample. They grew up listening to Elijah Kifrin Pong. And here I was, my rendition, beautifully put together. I didn't, dirty it and kept it clean. The biggest crime in Africa, skin bleaching. Jerry Curls, baby, now that's, Jesus Christ was a bibini, what I believe in. I went in there and I dropped subliminal jewels for the mind, same time kept them dancing. And this is what bridged the gap. This is the one. The video, it's amazing watching the video because some of the people in the video have moved on, i.e. the light-skinned brother who you saw who welcomes me at the door. That's DJ Rab. That's who's on my shirt here. May he rest in beautiful peace. He's an African-American who became family, one of my best friends. And a lot of the music from Ayamada now, all of these samples, he's the one that produced these songs. And he would die here in Africa. And guess what day he died? He died on the 6th of March. Yes. You could not write that in a script. So when we speak about the Du Bois and the folks who moved, African Americans who moved here and put in work, he is in that tier, and he lived and died and on that date. So every 6th of March, Brother Rab is he literally died for Africa.
For those who might be watching this by video, 6th of March is the Independence Day of Ghana.
Yes.
And DJ Rab from New York? From
yes,
Brooklyn?
Queens, yes.
From Queens,
yep.
okay.
New York.
Moved down here.
Yep.
And stayed here.
He's been with me all through. Right. Every time that you would see Reggie Rockstone, there was that light-skinned brother behind me, DJ Rab, producer, my best friend. He put me on social media, everything that I know. In fact, all the questions that you asked for me to answer, I was struggling because Rab is not here. Rab knew every date. When what was released, I can't remember.
Right.
But Rab was the man. So may he rest in beautiful peace. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for Reggie Rockstone. Thank you very much for coming and for staying. We had hoped, and I'm not sure what my head of department will say about this, we had hoped to have some audience questions, and I'm unclear. I have no idea what time it is. It's only 7. So perhaps you could send some instructions. You could send some instructions, audience questions. Would the audience like to ask some questions? We have some.
Boy, I didn't know I was that thirsty. Damn. Story.
Mr. Rockstone.
Yes, sir.
I say it's an honor to be here in your presence and listening to you.
Thank you,
I've
brother.
listened to your music for quite a while now. I still do listen to it.
That's it.
And I know people want people to know that you truly are the president. People call you grandpapa, but to me, you're the president.
Or say Chrome president. Thank you.
Yes. Now, the question I have to ask you is, I've heard about 2 dates for the beginning of hip hop, from which Hiplife originates. Some say Bronx, New York, 1968. Some say Bronx, New York, 1973.
Yeah.
Those were 2 dates. And it was started by DJ Kool Herc, who you
Yeah,
mentioned.
Kool Herc, yeah.
But the original rap song, commercialized, because people said the music was too black, so no major label would endorse it or sign
Right.
the artist, was 1979 Sugar Hill Gang,
Sugar Hill, Rapper's Delight.
Rappers Delight.
Yeah.
And all I want to know is, were you influenced by that song? I know you're a little bit older
Yes,
than I am.
I was very, very influenced by Rapper's Delight. Rapper's Delight is probably, I knew the lyrics for Rapper's Delight, which would shape my cadence, you know. But also remember, the Rapper's Delight sample Chic, Good Times. Right. And I already knew Good Times. So we were grooving Corday and all of them. They knew Good Times. And then I heard the rap version. So I was already clued up to the sample. But yes, Rapper's Delight is a hip-hop classic. And of
The
course,
whole
the
of
message. Grandmaster Flash, the message. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Krofwen, you know. There's some older folks in here. Seniors. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Rockstone.
Yes, sir.
I'm a bit younger, so a lot of this stuff is before my time, but
Yeah.
I still really appreciate hearing your insights so far throughout
Thank you, brother.
today. And the main question I have to ask has to do with your personal ambitions when you started this whole movement.
Right.
It seems to me that you sort of fell into
Yes.
Hiplife because you said you had a very diverse background. You started with Taekwondo. Was it Taekwondo?
Yeah, martial arts.
Yeah, with martial arts, and
Yeah.
then you moved to dance, and then
Yeah.
you moved into music. So I just wanted to know, because I myself produce music, and I want to, get the insight as to whether it's always been your ambition to start this kind of movement.
No.
Right. And if that became your ambition at one point, what is your key? What is one key you can give to some of us as to how you made it a reality, basically?
Okay, my story is rather unique, and I think as you clearly stated, I kind of fell into it. But then again, like I said to Brother George, there are no coincidences. It's just the pattern of my story that Jah put is just different. I originally aspired to be an actor. That's what I really wanted to be. I went to drama school, Ankoyi, and I'll tell you a funny story about that. And so, but it's not too far from, they're both entertainment. And so there was no doubt about my being an entertainer from Menkolebrim. It was clear. People that know me from school are not surprised what I became. In fact, when I came to Form 1 was the beginning of my career. Nino's Nights. Nino's Nights at Chimota Secondary. And I remember
Were you in Livingston or McCarthy?
Macau. Me and my wife both. She's McCarthy house too. Yeah. Now, when I came to Form 1, they had the initiation thing. It's called the Nino's Night. And that was the first time that I would perform in front of the whole school. I don't think anybody broke my record till today. The whole school.
Were you the one who did tour?
No, I did the moonwalk.
You did the moon. That's
Yes,
right.
I did the moonwalk. And at the time, now here, this is where it gets really tricky. Pay attention now. At the time, Michael Jackson, I had my, remember?
What were they called?
The Chinese sneakers,
They're called something.
Chinese mooks something, yeah. At the time, Michael Jackson had not showed you the moonwalk, because Michael did his moonwalk at the Motown 25th anniversary. I showed at Chimota Secondary the moonwalk, I think a year or two before Michael did. This is where people got confused when I said that I did the moonwalk before Michael Jackson. And everybody's like, how? And they start to cuss me once again. Right, but I can explain to you how. Reason is, Michael Jackson learned the moonwalk from a friend of mine. His name is Jeffrey Daniel. Jeffrey Daniel is from a group called Shalama. Aha, get ready. I'm gonna make this a night to remember. That's Shalama. I saw him do the moonwalk on Soul Train way before Michael Jackson did it. Inti mimi shien every. So when I came to Form 1, I was already doing the moonwalk. This is why I could sit brave and say I did it before Michael showed y'all. And people thought I was crazy. But guess what? Humble pie in their faces. Because Jeffrey Daniel came to Ghana and he came to visit me. And I caught it on video. In fact, he's on my phone, on my WhatsApp right now, talking to me about everything. He's the one that taught Michael Jackson the moonwalk. It wasn't called the moonwalk. It was called the backslide.
That's right. I remember backslide.
Yes. When white people first seen it, they didn't know what to make of it, and they called it a moonwalk. And that's how it became. So that's a piece of history for you. Michael Cray BT, when you know. Yeah.
These are memories. These are, you're
I
taking
know,
me
right?
way back.
I know, way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, my story is unique. It's not one to pattern yours with, but do from heart. If it's from the heart, it will go to the hearts. Yes, that's really what I could share with you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Rockstone.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, do you think that the introduction of Hiplife and its popular rise into mainstream Ghanaian culture drove a gap between hip-hop musicians and African Americans in relation to the diaspora when Hiplife navigated west?
Did it bridge the gap?
Like, do you think it drove a gap, or do you think it
No,
bridged
yes,
the gap?
it definitely bridged the gap, without a doubt. You know, it was through Hiplife. It was through Hiplife that Brother Wyclef would come to us. It was through Hiplife that the Jamaican dancehall king Beanie Man. It was through Hiplife that gave you Bandana, who became Shatawale, now making music with Beyonce. Hiplife did that. All of the above is from Hiplife. You know, Bolare, he come from Hiplife. All of these names, all these endorsement deals. I was one of the first Rasta to be on a billboard. You know, otherwise that stigma was there. Hey, but I was able to break that. And you know, today everybody got their hair whichever way you want. So Hiplife did so much. Hiplife also made the language is very hip. Because remember, up until then, when brothers and sisters from outside, they didn't want to identify with being African. When they would come home, they refused to speak Cree or even try to. Okay, Hiplife made it hip.
Yes.
Today, they bring be in it for you. Yes. You know, the first thing they say is after saying and blah, it's really hip now. And now it's even more hip with Afrobeat because Nigerians are expressing their African selves, you know. So my story is kind of unique. Yeah. Thank you. It definitely did bridge the gap.
Hello. Huge fan, grew up listening
Thank
to
you.
you. I'm from New York, classic anchor baby story, back in Ghana, trying to make it as an artist. And you really struck a nerve about Ghanaians not liking change.
Yes.
You know, New York is fast-paced, always
Yep.
changing, and I want to make a name for myself as a creative person here, but I want to know from you, how did you persevere through no's, and how do you face adversity? How do you
Yeah.
keep your inner, like, creative soul thriving in the midst of all of this, like, I don't know,
Once
slow
again,
growth?
My story, so unique. I am so blessed because I come from artistic parents. My mother is on the cover of Parliament, Up for the Downstroke. If you look on the cover, that's my mother on there. You know, and my father made clothes for Richard Pryor, Dinah Ross. I was born into this. So my story is very different. Not your regular African, Ghanaian story. No, they supported me. They believed in me. They put the money down. In every angle, they were there. So this makes my story rather unique. I didn't get too many no's. I just did what I wanted to do because I had the backing. So I always tell people, I don't come from that kind of struggle. I come from a blessed, some will say easy, but of course the talent was there. However, to answer your question, with my people, don't ever get this confused. They will act like, but when it's time, they will follow you like they never acted like. When I started to sell rice and beans to human beings, they were clowning me. Today, everybody talk about Roxwachi. When Hiplife began, people said, you're rapping in vernacular. I remember I went to places like GIS. They didn't really want no parts of it. What's this? They wanted to be American. And I speak English pretty well, but I decided to rap in my own language. They come, they're gonna look at you funny. Don't stop. Just keep going. They will follow. When I put watch it in a jar, everybody thought I was crazy. But these same people ate powdered fufu. And that's really hard to do. You telling Ashanti to eat powdered fufu. Today, all of them eat powdered fufu. So keep on moving. Don't stop. Don't stop. Yeah.
Mine is a comment.
Yes.
And then I have a question.
Okay.
But they are related. I wanted to talk about your reinventing yourself.
Right.
Because you talked about selling these yo-yo clothes.
Right.
You talked about, performing outside,
Yeah.
coming into Ghana, getting this hybrid of Hiplife, which is also a reinvention of
Yes.
yourself. Going dormant for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you didn't talk about your VIP and VVIP.
Oh, how could we forget that page?
Exactly. So I wanted us to go back to that side.
Yeah,
But the comment that I want to make, and then you can talk about VIP and VVIP. I was struck by your story about how Roxwachi came to be. Because I used to come to Rockstone's place and then eat wachi.
What the time?
I love your wachi.
Let's go, baby.
I loved the story, the way you presented it, that COVID taught you to reinvent yourself in another way.
Yes.
Because it was either you evolved or you perished.
Yeah.
And I think this is a story that it resonates with entrepreneurs. I'm one. So I see that and I feel that this is not just about music.
Yeah.
It's about looking at the times and changing to suit the times. That's how you get longevity. And I think that you've done a great job with that.
Thank you.
So
Thank
please
you.
tell us about VIP and VVIP.
VIP. Hey, it's awesome, no? And you're easy. So, George, you might have missed this one because that's a very potent one there. So, out of Hiplife came another legendary story called VIP. Now, VIP, they're like community activists. They represent NEMA. NEMA. Okay. That's like the equivalent of, it's hood. It's hood. And they did beautiful things. And they brought pride to the hood. And so all throughout, we've been friends. I'm the older brother. And funny enough, I lived with one of them in New York, Prodigal. And so over the years, people would always ask, when you people will do collaboration? Just like people always ask, Reggie, when are you going to do a song with Bravo? That's the forever question. So finally, there came a point where I had done everything, and I got bored of hearing myself, And so music is still in me. Fast forward, VIP, they lose another member. They had other members who kept dropping, and then one of them dropped, which would be Brother Promsy. And when he dropped out, they put it on, it came out on social media. So I come on Twitter, cracking the jokey joke. This is how it began. I said, I've always wanted to be a member of VIP. Now that Promsy's not there, maybe I should join. Right. And Twitter caught fire. Social media did that. And once Twitter caught fire, it was divided. Some people were like, yeah, that would be dope. Some people were like, no, you the OG. And boom, 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 I knew it was time for me to come in because I needed to reinvent myself. And I needed to come with something different. So I called them up, and I said, listen, man, I got the attention of the people now. You have vacancy there? Because I'm coming. Okay. I can still rap. I look relatively okay, you know, let's go. So, thank you. So, from there, we started to parlay with ideas, and we would now reinvent, once again, branding. It was VIP. I said, why don't you just add another V? And it became VVIP.
Nice.
And Ghanaians went crazy. When they said I joined the group, oh, Lord, they cussed me proper. Oh, what is he doing? What is that? He's too old. He's too OG. This, that. They cuss, and then I put out the music. We put out the music, and all Ghanaians went quiet. That's what I be trying to tell you. They all went quiet. The same folks who were clowning me all went quiet. We started with selfie. We began with showing them about the selfie. We went from there to Skulum. We went from there to Alaji. Went there from Dogoyaru. We hit them hits. In a space of 4 years, we won the best group. So I really did break a record there because if you think about it, for me to be from that old school, reinvent myself, people say it won't work, and it works. And here we are. So yeah, I forgot that story. Thank you for reminding me.
So yeah, with VVIP right now.
VVIP is the group.
Okay.
Whenever we come together, it's VVIP.
Amen.
Yeah, amen.
I would like to ask, as someone who pioneered a genre of music, what knowledge could you share to upcoming artists who want to also share their unique talent, even if it's not palatable to the current market, and they want to show their individuality? Maybe they don't have funding. What words of advice and encouragement to make sure they can keep their individuality, their knowledge of self, even when maybe money and other things try to make them change or conform to current standards?
Yeah. You pretty much answered yourself. You know, you have to keep your individuality. That's really the key there. Now, last but not least, you see, young people really fall for the smoke and mirror effect of show business. Show business is a lot of glamity. When you watch the TV, you see the girls, the cars, and the fame. You got to be careful what it is that you want, because you just might get. People always talk about God blessing folks. The devil could bless you too, because he know about show business. All that fancy stuff, he could give it to you in exchange for your soul. So be careful. If you are an authentic artist and it comes from here, you will not worry about all of the above. You will just want to bring it out and share. And then it will find itself to everybody, i.e. Prince, Michael Jackson, it will find itself. But if you're sat at home thinking about, man, I got to make a buck out of this. I see how Jay-Z made money. 9 out of 10, usually you're not really talented anyway. Real talented folks don't even think like that, you know. But don't get me wrong. If there's a business, that's why it's called show business. So I miss the business side much. I'm suffering for that. But I stand on my tools because I realize that I inspired you. So that pays me, but does my heart good. The rest, like you said, keep your individuality. And be careful of what you wish for, because you just might get it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. And
Yes.
the first one is, we've heard a lot of news circulating that Hiplife is dead, and
Right.
that the new generation are not interested in Hiplife anymore.
Right.
So my question is, what are you doing to revive it? And do you think someday Hiplife can win Grammy?
Well, you know, first of all, you really need to see the obituary posted on the walls. I haven't seen that yet. We're saying Hiplife is dead. What a shock. You know, what a wow. You know, gone too soon. And they always find a fucked up picture of you, don't they? I saw one, the guy had a beer bottle in his hand. I was like, I know what killed you. Anyway, in saying this, when they say Hiplife is dead, that narrative needs to be tuned up a little bit. Yes, there's an iota of truth to it, but however, when they say it's dead, it can't be, because they are still doing Hiplife. Every single one of your stars is still rapping in Cree or rapping in some language, and that is pretty much the fundamentals of Hiplife. What's happened is they're not identifying with the brand. But when they asked my brother Black Sharif, when they interviewed him, they said, what kind of music you make? He said, high life and hip hop. And I was sat at home like, say that again. You know, he pretty much said it, Hiplife. But he's not saying Hiplife. You know, young people want to identify with what's fly. It is a Hiplife, and then they'll boss why. All of them go claim on. Now they want to look where they think is greener. Unfortunately, it's going to cost us, because it's saturated over there with the Afro. You know, you think they're going to open these doors for you to get a seat? They might just allow a few in, and they close the borders. You got to own your own. You have to. I don't care if you can call it anything else, but own your own. And that's it. So Hiplife is in a coma. She's not dead. She's just coming around, and she's going to identify her children when she wakes up. And then Fim is one of them. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
My second question was, do you think Hiplife will ever win Grammy?
Yes, I believe that it is possible. It might not come with the same title. They might rename it, call it something else, I don't know. Or they might, I mean, High Life is still here. They still play High Life. So as long as High Life, they're still keeping High Life alive. So it's much easier for Hiplife to pop back up, especially with social media and all of the above. Yeah.
I don't
it's
think...
very, very possible.
It's
just music, yeah.
I don't think Hiplife is dead at all. I think it lives with those of us who listen to it, those of us who identify with Reggie, those of you who are here. It may not be in the mainstream branding, but it is absolutely not dead. If it were dead, we would be dead. We are not dead.
True.
Therefore, it's alive.
I like that. That's a good one there. Oh, I'm going to use that one.
Yeah. You know,
I'm going to use that one. I like that.
I'm going to drop a few things. So most of you, or some of you may have heard of J.S. Bach, famous classical composer, musician, possibly the greatest genius musician the world has ever seen. His music disappeared. Now, he lived in the Baroque era. He was born in 1685. His music disappeared, and it wasn't until the 19th century Mendelssohn rediscovered Bach. Today, Bach is venerated like nobody's business. So that also begs the question, what does it mean for music to die? Is it that the music is no longer relevant? In Bach's case, that was not the case. It's all about branding. And it's also about who's telling the story. So depending on whose story you listen to, Chimamanda talks about this. If you start a story about African failed state, and you don't mention anything about colonialism, you get a very different picture from if you start the story at the beginning of the colonial era. And so it's all about the stories that we tell. And one of the things that the Center of African Popular Culture is trying to do today is tell the stories of the best of us. Reggie is one of the best of us. We are going to have one last question because the time has sped by so quickly. Whatever he said.
Yeah, they're just sweet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to catching up with this guy.
I know,
you
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
with
we
too many
go
stories.
So far back. Amazing.
But I think we'll take one last question, and then our DJ has selected a final tune for us to depart with. It's something to do with a friend.
Right. I know which one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll ask our HOD to point out the final question for us. Mami Mensa Bonsu, please stand up and point to your final question.
Right.
Ah, fantastic.
All right. Good evening, Reggie, and good evening, everyone.
But hold on, I had a strategy. I wanted everyone to see Mami Mensa Bonsu. Please stand up and let's give our HOD a hand.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Blessings.
All right.
Okay, I've really learned a lot today, and I discovered that music can reveal our true identity as Africans. So I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but today I've learned a lot about Ghanaian music. So my question is, what was your biggest fear in the career, so that we learn from it? Thank you.
That's a good question there. And I'm glad you asked this, and my wife is sat here. You know, I never came into music as a career. That's another thing. It's just something that I loved, and so I expressed it. It was only much later that I realized that I hadn't learned anything in the school, and I spent so much time doing this stuff that I had to make a living. You know, I got to pay school fees and all of the above. And so entertainment pretty much owes me money because I spent the best of my life entertaining folks. But now I have to look at the business side of things. So the fear, I wouldn't say it's a fear, it's a concern. It's how do I utilize all of the above that I have put in so that my children's children or my family can live off of what it is, because I have contributed immensely to country and to the world. Now, I'm not saying that you owe me anything, but I got to make it make sense. So yes, Roxwache, the reason why I get a jump start is because I am Reggie Rockstone selling wachi. So then, of course, I get ahead of the Amalia selling wachi because I'm more popular. So music gave me that. I understand. But every now and then, I sit back and I wouldn't say I'm afraid, but I start to think, hey, na show business, anything. What's am I say? I do have these concerns, especially in Ghana. You know, because you know they will clown you in a heartbeat. Oh, why in your head? And you know you died a pauper, blah blah. And so I wouldn't say it's a fear, but it's a concern. And every day now I'm thinking of new ways to be able to feed my family via, still be Reggie, and still do what I love to do. Yeah, so no fears, just man worries. Yes, this is a man worry. Yeah.
Hello. I know the questions were supposed to be over, Reggie.
Yes.
But I'm going to drop a comment and I'm going to praise someone in your life.
Okay.
First of all, let me say we thank God for a good person like you who's so creative and pushes the industry forward. But all those guys also asking, I don't think creativity is always enough for you to see the success in the person. We must also acknowledge the managerial aspects of that creativity. True. And one person that I'd want to acknowledge in your life, Freddie, is the daughter of the president of our third republic.
Zilania Jew too,
because this medical doctor for the past 15 or 14 plus years has put everything down and managed Reggie in the nicest way possible. So I'm thanking her for holding you up and making you to the loveliest team that I've ever come across.
Thank you.
All the best.
And Zalawedia Jew too. Mr. Medasi P, right? Right idea. I mean, you're easy. You know, yes. You're right. I mean, it's a full circle, and she's definitely a part of my story, and I am honored, and I'm appreciative. I'm not an easy man to be with, God knows, but here I am. If you think about my family line, marriage is not a part of our story. And we're about 22, 21 years together now. So I think I might have broken a generational curse. Yeah. And still going, yeah.
Well, I just want to say that the Reggie you see today is the Reggie I knew when he was a boy. And he's the best of the best.
Thank you, sir.
And I think I want to say to Zela, you picked a good one.
What's it?
Picked a very good. East Canton's boy.
What's it?
And on that note, we'll take our final song and we will depart from the stage. I want to say thank you very much for being such a fantastic audience. And we hope to see you again.
Yes, this has been wonderful. It's definitely a plus meeting my old brother. I mean, I got memories, so. Oh, this one is dedicated to my father, Ricky. Yeah. Feel why I drink.
Reggie Rockstone, that's our water tweet. I'll do anything if you want me to. You're my best friend, you're my best friend, you're my father, and I love you. I sing your Sydney, okay, we're rapping with emotion. I shouldn't brew, but worry, my papa slow, around to my home, my do me trying to win a mission. Let's say, be anyway, I see my year, and I do make a tell me, team, to make good. That's why I'm not my girlfriend. I didn't know I could probably, you know, Miss I can't say, I'm a giant, so that man, I got you baby for fraud. The family trauma train and the say she and swam and so, yes, my own so, yes, I know my papa to tell my mom. Also, sorry, I'm not passing on when I'm so. Remember, Reggie, and I could be any last month before. We sound so bad about the love and never. Sounds and stone, when they do the medical too. Sorry, now I'm more your son, and they be out your room. And you may want to know me too, and you may be too much. Bobby, or die a show. Sun, boy, yeah, I feel warm, I got you. And you wait, me trying to miss you, see, I'll be any gas away, you be home. I see you. Maybe I now got so well, I'm moving soon. My kind of crowd, I'm that day. Okay, you for it, as you was young for it. You said by now, what's the ring? I'm not able to stay for your gum. Okay, you guess you will be my you do. Maybe I'll call him, I'm not too. Can't know your mom and somebody out with my tongue. So maybe I cool, some I got you, I'm not sure. If you be about to see how secondary school. Roseanne, Reggie, Sasha, and Zema, Kita, Nikita, Mama, Elena, something by and on air, bonfires and Kedia, Kebby, food, when I'm forced to see the other who is who, which every was a pass and alcohol, so was nothing new with the exception of a few. One Ghanaian, one Jew, he won't be really surprised, he has a space in the crew, but don't sweat it. When they see me, they see you, they see you, they see you, they see you.
Thank you. Farewell. Bless up. Ginger. Okay.